The storm came without warning. The sky was a sea of flashing red and white, the air thick with turbulence. Inside the military transport plane, Sergeant Cole Anders sat strapped in with his squad, listening to the engines strain as thunder rolled like artillery. Their mission was simple: supply delivery to an offshore research post. But simplicity always dies first in war. The first explosion tore through the left wing. The cabin filled with alarms and shouting. Smoke poured in as the plane tilted violently. The pilot screamed something about losing both engines. Cole unbuckled, fighting gravity, yelling at his men to brace. Then, the world went white. When Cole opened his eyes, he was face down in wet sand. The air reeked of fuel and salt. Waves hissed over twisted metal scattered along the beach. The jungle loomed behind him, black and endless. He forced himself to his feet, dizzy and bleeding, calling out for his men. Ramirez was the first to answer, a silhouette crawling out of the surf, soaked and coughing. Keller followed, limping with a broken rifle. Nolan stumbled out next, dragging a supply bag. The others never answered. Fires burned farther down the beach. The rest of the crew were gone. Cole checked his radio. Nothing but static. He tried again. Still nothing. Somewhere far off, thunder cracked, and lightning flashed across the sky. For just a moment he saw something move among the trees, a dark figure too tall to be human. When he looked again, it was gone. They set up camp by the wreckage. The night was hot and heavy, but the jungle made no sound. No birds, no insects, just the crash of distant waves. Keller swore he saw lights deeper inland, white, flickering, like lanterns swinging through fog. Cole told him to get some rest, though he barely believed his own words. At dawn, they went exploring, searching for high ground. The island was massive and old, full of towering trees and vines thick as ropes. The soil smelled of rot. Not far from the beach, they found metal, half-buried machinery covered in moss. It wasn't from their plane. It was older. The surface bore faded military insignia from the 1940s. "What's something like this doing here?" Ramirez asked, staring at the rusted panel. Cole didn't answer. He just stared at the strange carvings etched along the side, symbols that looked more like warnings than words. By noon, they reached a hill overlooking the interior. From there, the island's center rose into a jagged mountain split open like a wound. A dark mist seeped from the cracks near the top. The mountain pulsed faintly, as if it were breathing. That night, Nolan disappeared. One moment he was sitting by the fire, the next, his seat was empty. They searched until dawn, shouting his name into the trees. No reply came, except for whispers carried by the wind that sounded like his voice calling back. The next day, they found his footprints leading deeper into the jungle. They followed them until they ended in a clearing. In the middle stood a weathered concrete bunker, half swallowed by vines. The metal doors were bent open. A rusted sign above read, "Facility 9, Restricted." Cole led the way inside. The air was damp and freezing. Flashlights cut through the darkness, illuminating peeling walls and broken pipes. Old photographs lay scattered on the floor, scientists, soldiers, and something behind them blurred by motion. Keller picked one up and froze. "This can't be right," he whispered. The photo was dated 1943, but one of the men in the picture looked exactly like Cole. They reached the control room. Consoles lined the walls, dead and silent, except for one screen faintly glowing green. Words began to scroll across it. "Welcome back, Captain Anders." Cole stepped back, his breath fogged in the cold air. The others stared at him in disbelief. The bunker shook suddenly, a low rumble passing through the floor. Somewhere below, metal groaned. Ramirez ran to the door, shouting that something was moving outside. Then the lights flickered and went out. In the dark, they heard a sound, wet, dragging, and close. Gunfire flashed briefly, echoing through the hall. Something screamed, inhuman and deep. Cole grabbed Keller and pulled him toward the exit. They ran through collapsing corridors, barely making it outside before the entrance caved in behind them. Ramirez was gone. The jungle was burning when night fell again. The mist from the mountain spread across the island, glowing faintly red beneath the moon. Keller was shaking uncontrollably, mumbling that the island was alive. Cole didn't argue. He felt it too. The ground pulsing beneath his boots like a heartbeat. By morning, Keller was dead. No wounds, no signs of struggle. Just pale and cold, his eyes open and staring toward the sea. Cole buried him by the wreckage and stood alone, watching the horizon bleed red as the sun rose through the haze. He tried the radio again. Static. Then, faintly, a voice. His own voice. "You're not supposed to be here, Cole. You never left." He dropped the radio, heart pounding. The jungle rustled behind him. Footsteps. Dozens of them. He turned, weapon ready. Figures were emerging from the mist. Soldiers in tattered uniforms, their faces half burned, their eyes glowing faintly red. Some wore insignias from his unit. Some bore names he recognized. Men who died years ago. They moved in silence, surrounding him. Cole fired until his rifle clicked empty. The bullets tore through them, but they didn't fall. They only kept walking, faces blank, like sleepwalkers. He backed toward the sea, waves lapping at his boots. The island began to shake violently, the mountain splitting wider as light poured from within. The dead soldiers stopped at the shore. One of them stepped forward, his own reflection wearing an old uniform. "You brought the signal back," it said in his voice. "Now it stays." Cole turned and ran into the surf. The waves rose higher, red and boiling. Behind him, the island erupted in flame. The mist swallowed everything, the trees, the sky, the wreckage. When Cole opened his eyes again, he was back on the beach. The wreckage was gone. The sea was calm. The radio beside him was still. He picked it up slowly. "This is Sergeant Cole Anders, Eagle 12, he said weakly. "Mission failed, crew lost, request extraction." Static. Then a faint reply. "Greater than Eagle 12, this is command. You were declared missing in action in 1943. Cole froze. The radio hissed softly. The tide crept up to his knees. Far out on the horizon, the water shimmered red. Something massive moved beneath the surface, circling closer. The last thing he heard was the faint hum, like a heartbeat, rising from the depths. Then silence.